So what is it that really makes a role-playing game great? I mean, beyond the huge quests and the cool monsters, there's this hidden architecture, a set of rules that takes a simple character and turns them into a legend. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and dig into the core design principles that shape the very heroes we play as. Let's jump in. You know, the legendary Arthur C. Clarke absolutely nailed it with this one. And this quote, it's the perfect place for us to start. Because in the world of RPGs, magic isn't always about wizards and fireballs. Nope. It can be any power that lets us bend the rules of reality, whether that power comes from a sorcerer's ancient staff or a souped-up plasma rifle in some sci-fi epic.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start by figuring out what magic even means in a game, and then we'll look at the price for all that awesome power. After that, we'll dive into skills, how our characters actually grow and get better. And finally, we'll see how it all comes together when you create your character. Okay, let's kick things off with the most mind-bending element of all, magic. How on earth do game designers take something that just doesn't exist in our world and make it feel like a real, understandable system in their game? Well, it all starts with setting some ground rules.
See, at its heart, the word magic is really just a catch-all. It can be anything. Psychic abilities, super advanced technology, you name it. The key thing is that it's a system for messing with the game world in ways you just can't in real life. And that's exactly why a designer's first job is to lay out clear rules, so you, the player, know what you can do and, maybe more importantly, what you can't.
Magic is also this incredible tool for shaping how you play the game. By locking away spells to certain classes, designers basically nudge you into building a balanced team, right? You need your tough warrior up front, but you also need your mage in the back slinging spells. Of course, there are real-world limits too. Every single spell needs animations, sound effects. That all takes time. And to keep the game from breaking, magical effects are almost never permanent. Those massive, world-changing spells are usually saved for big story moments.
Giving a player godlike power is awesome, but it can also completely shatter the game's challenge. So how do designers put a leash on all that magic to keep things interesting? Well, it all comes down to creating a cost, a price of power. Let's look at the two big systems they use.
So on one side, you've got the classic Dungeons & Dragons method. Think of your spells like ammunition in a gun. You memorize a few, and once you cast one, poof, it's gone from your brain until you can rest and prepare it again. It makes you play very carefully, very tactically. But on the other side, you've got the mana system, which is way more common these days. Here, magic is like a regenerating pool of energy. Every spell costs a little bit of that energy, which gives you way more freedom to react on the fly in the middle of a fight.
And really, this is why the mana system pretty much won out. I mean, back in the old days of pen and paper, players had to track every single spell they memorized. It was a lot of work. But now, the computer does all that boring number crunching for us. So the more fluid, flexible mana system just makes sense. It lets us focus on the fun part, the strategy, not the paperwork.
Okay, let's move on to the next layer of building our hero. Beyond the flashy magic, our characters grow and evolve through skills. These are the more down-to-earth, learnable abilities, everything from swinging a sword better to picking a tricky lock, that really define what our character can do.
You know, a great way to think about this is to compare RPG skills to upgrades in a strategy game. A strategy game upgrade is kind of industrial, right? It improves all of your archer units, but just for that one mission. An RPG skill, though, is personal. It belongs to your character, it lasts forever, and learning it is usually instant. Because, let's be honest, nobody wants to spend hours just watching a progress bar while their character practices archery.
So, how are all these skills organized? Well, it's usually in something we all know and love, a skill tree. Think about a game like Diablo 2. You start with a basic skill like a simple fireball. And once you have that, it unlocks a whole path to more advanced related skills, like a bigger, badder meteor spell. Whether it's a straight line or a crazy branching tree with tons of choices, the goal is always the same, to give you a clear sense of progression and let you make meaningful choices about how your hero gets stronger. Every point you spend feels like a real step forward. So, we've got our magic and we've got our skills, but who's actually wielding all this power? This brings us to the very heart of it all, the character. And here, designers have to make a huge choice. Do they give you a fully formed hero with a backstory, or do they give you a blank slate to create yourself? This is probably one of the biggest trade-offs in all of RPG design. If you get a predefined hero, the writer can tell a very specific, detailed story. That character can have a history, they can have friends, they can have rivals from the second the game starts, but it does limit your freedom. On the other hand, letting you create your own avatar from scratch offers total creative freedom. You can project yourself onto that hero. The only catch is, the game's story and its quests have to be a bit more generic to work for any kind of character you might dream up. And when you do get to create a character, the process is probably pretty familiar to you. You pick the cosmetic stuff, name, hair color, all that. You choose a race and a class. And then comes the really important part. You get a bunch of points to distribute into core stats like strength or intelligence. And what's interesting is that the old-school method of randomly rolling dice for these points is kind of fading away. Designers now prefer to just give you a set number of points to spend. It gives you total control over building your hero's foundation.
So in the end, it really all comes down to this fundamental question. Do you prefer to step into the shoes of a hero who already has a rich, detailed past? Or do you want the freedom of a blank slate, a hero whose story is yours and yours alone to write? There's no right answer, of course, but that one choice a designer makes, that's what truly defines the soul of an RPG.